So I'm just having my first coffee of the day, and I thought I'd try out a YouTube vertical live stream because apparently that's the next thing. So I don't expect many people to show up at this time of day. That's why I figured it's a good time to try it out, see how it goes. But also, well, we all know that printer manufacturers like to say that you should attend your printer at all times. You never know when it's just going to burst into flames. But the truth is, we all have those all night or even multi day prints that there's no way we're going to stay up for the whole thing. And, after a certain number of years, you come to trust your 3D printer. So you're like, yeah, I can run an all night print. I've printed this type of model before. Shouldn't be a problem. I'll watch the first couple of layers. Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Awesome to see people coming in. So let's have a look at what I'm dealing with right now. It's probably something that a few of us have dealt with. But this is a good one. Flubber has overtaken my printer. yeah. This was going to be like a 30-hour print, and apparently it failed not long after I went to bed yesterday. So we're going to see if we can recover this thing here on the live stream, and then I think if we do, I'm going to also just do some general maintenance, because I realized I haven't taken much care of this Sovol SV01 Pro. I've had it for a few years, and the thing is, when a printer works really well, you kind of forget to do the random every 50-hour maintenance or whatever they ask for. To be honest, I don't do that. You'll see when I break into the fans how abusive I am to my 3D printers. Anyways, let's see what we can do here. I'm going to start out by just preheating the nozzle. Since it's such a massive thing, normally I would do like a minimum temperature if there's a small blob. But yeah, 222, sure, why not? We're going to start kind of high, because we need that heat to spread up and warm the blob. Generally, it's a much better approach to heat up the heat block on the printer than going straight for a heat gun. Although I have the heat gun right here, and I think there's a good chance I'm going to have to be using it for this one. And the reason being, I can see that the cables for the heat block are indeed victim to the OoZe. Welcome everyone to the live stream. It's good to see a good crowd here. Wow, 56 people. I did not expect that. What are you all up to? What are you doing on this fine Wednesday? Of course, you're all around the world, so Seattle, it's 1 a.m. for you. Even more surprising. There is a silicone sock on this printer, K9 Play, but I think it'll help a bit. Maybe. I think at this point we're kind of past that. And actually, well, let's see, it's at 190 now. Let's see if there's any movement. I gotta be careful here, because sometimes you can just rip off. So we've got some movement. And I can see the silicone sock there. It's already, like, got pushed off, so that's gone. The real thing we gotta watch out for is the heat cable and the thermistor cable, especially, because that one's tiny. I think we're gonna have to heat that up with the heat gun. But the first thing I'm gonna do is start disassembling this as much as I can to get parts off, first of all, so we don't unnecessarily heat and blowtorch things that don't need to be heated. And just to make it easier to access. Drunk Turtles in Jersey, what's up? Square Peg, this is the Sovol SV01 Pro. A little hard to tell because I've got the Cheaty Tech build plate on it, which I gotta give a lot of love to this build plate. It is probably my favorite style by now. These really rough PEI plates, especially the magnetic spring steel style. Super fancy. Anyways, We're up to temps now. We got wobbles, but let's start taking this apart a bit. Oh, I need my coffee. Can y'all hear me all right out there? I actually have no clue how the audio is. I got a new phone right now. I'm on the Pixel 6a, and actually, I bought this refurbished because I'm a frugal boy. And every time I boot it up, it gives me a warning that it's on an unlocked bootloader and that I shouldn't trust it with my personal details. So I'm exchanging it, and I'm going to get a 7A because it's got a better camera, which will be nice for live streams like this. Alright, so I'm starting with the BL Touch, popping that off here. And yeah, let's get the fan. Sorry, I'm host and camera operator for the time being, and I don't even have my nice tools on hand. But probably what most of us are dealing with, just the little set of Allen keys that come with the printer. So that's a good thing, maybe. This is an area because I have the heat on and everything. I gotta be a little careful. Something I do all too often is accidentally stick an Allen key into the fan, and I've been known to break a fan blade or two that way. Oh, also classic, the screws being different lengths. So you gotta try to remember which one goes where. I kind of just set it down next to the printer in the same configuration, so hopefully I'll get things right. Yeah, I honestly don't know if I've ever taken this print head apart. And it's been many, many years, so it's going to look pretty gross in there. And it'll probably run fairly, like, a lot better. If I get it running again. I mean, I will. Worst case is I gotta swap out the hot end and the cables. Oh, but here's where you're all gonna be so disappointed in me. Look at that. Oh, God. So dusty. So gross. So we're going to have to turn off the printer to deal with that. But look, we're getting more access to the hot end here. This thing is kind of annoying, the BL Touch. I could unplug it, but I'm going to try not to. Let's keep opening it up. It looks like it's giving us some good access to what's going on in here. You'll get heat creep. I mean, at this point, I think that's kind of beyond my concern. I kind of want the heat to creep through everything right now. That's my thinking. The more heat, the easier it'll be to remove this blob. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely gonna clean this. So gross. And a fire hazard, probably. I don't know. I don't know what it takes for dust to catch on fire. Has that ever happened? I know most printers have thermal runaway protection nowadays, and that used to be the main reason that a printer could catch on fire. Is that it wouldn't realize it's heating itself up to an insane temperature if the thermistor went bad or something. But what if the dust itself just formed some kindling and caught on fire? That would suck. Alrighty. What am I doing here? Oh, I think there's some screws that I can't really access because they're around this blob. Oh, is it just those two screws? Whoa. The chunk is really wiggling off, which is cool, but also, again, I gotta be really careful on this side. I don't want to yank the whole cables out. Yeah, okay. So there we go. We can see the cable is in fact surrounded on all sides. So I think that's gonna just be a heat gun thing. But at least it's pretty isolated now. Like, I separated all of this. Is there some way to take it off even more? That's pretty bad, honestly. The thermistor cable is not looking too hot. Alright. We're gonna use the heat gun. I'm almost tempted to just like break off little chunks, little by little. But what's the tool for that? Just use pliers and kind of break off chunks? I don't know. Alrighty. So these super cheap heat guns are lovely. This cost me like $8 or $9, maybe less. What's annoying is the power cable is so darn short. So I'm gonna have to use an extension cord. How lovely. I think we can reach. Alright. Yeah, I need an extension cord. So, any questions out there about printers falling apart or anything? Ooh. Side cutters for blobs. Heat gun is a hair dryer, or yeah, can you use a hair gun as a heat? Ugh. Hair dryer as a heat gun? Yes, absolutely. That's what I did for a long time. I'm pretty sure they get nearly as hot. These little heat guns are nice because they're very directional, so it's better at heating up a small area without heating everything around it, which in this case is definitely gonna benefit the cause. We want to isolate the heat so we're not heating up other parts of the printer unnecessarily. You know what I'm saying? But also, luckily, printers are kind of made to get hot, so it's not the most sensitive tool to be messing around with. Alright. Extension cord equipped. Let's get the angle back on here for the action. Have I seen the new Elegoo massive printer? Yes, and of course I want one. How cool would it be to have a printer that can print 1,000 millimeters tall? I don't know what I'd do with it exactly. Probably I would start making a bunch of furniture, you know? Ooh. Yeah, I'd love a massive printer, but one with like I don't know, at least a 3 to 6 millimeter nozzle for making absolutely massive things. And even cooler, Elegoo, if you're listening, or anyone, I'd love a giant printer with a giant nozzle and just a hopper where you could dump in failed prints. Because I've tried making filament from failed prints and it's not easy. But if you had a 6 millimeter nozzle, you could have you could extrude with a lot less consistency. You wouldn't need such nice filament. Okay, gosh. Yeah, it's pretty hard right now. I'm gonna get those little flush cutters. I've just got my little 3D printer flush cutters. So I'm gonna warm this up and start taking little chunks out of it. It's kind of like an archaeological dig at this point. I can point this down so it's not hitting the printer so much. Doesn't look like it's doing anything, but it's been warm. Yeah, let's not get too far ahead. Little by little is the way to go. Although, yeah, we need more. It's not quite soft yet. Find the nozzle in the haystack. That is indeed the game we're playing right here. Sorry, I'm sure this isn't the loveliest noise. Can you hear me over the heat gun? Uh-oh. Yeah, I'm pretty much just going to focus on one spot at a time. This is such a beast of a blob. Alright, yeah, sorry. We're going to be doing some heat gunning for a while. I know it's not the loveliest noise. Yeah, you know what? I do have a Dremel. It seems a bit more aggressive, but honestly not a terrible idea. As long as I make absolutely sure to avoid critical components. Oop. Alright, this is soft now, but it's just so big, and I don't want to stress the cables out too much. Should I use the Dremel? What do you guys think? Should I saw this thing apart? Also, can I remove this entire thing? Oh, I guess it's connected by this cable. We do have some zip ties here that I could cut off and maybe free this a bit. I'm gonna go for it. And I think I gotta unplug the BL Touch too. Oi, oi, oi. This will not be so easy. Alright, BL Touch is off, just so that I could feed the cables through and kind of bring this further away from the main unit. It's a good time to do maintenance since I have to tear this all apart anyways. There we go. That's nice. Now we've got a very good view of the problem. Oh man, you know what? This heat's just been on the whole time, and it looks like it's finally done its job. Oh, look at that. That is kind of cool. It's really oozing. Wow, that almost freed itself. Unfortunately, the one spot it's caught is around the tiniest little thermistor cable. actually, wait a minute. Oh, hallelujah. Free at last. No, I shouldn't do better. So the silicone sock is 100% dead. Be gone. But look at that. Just had to keep the heat on for a few minutes and we've got ourselves a free hot end. Wow. I was losing hope, honestly, but look at that. Alrighty. Let's get a nice... It's just dripping. I feel like... hopefully the thermistor isn't broken, because it seems like it takes more than 220 degrees to get this much gooping. It's really gooping. Sorry. Kill the cameraman. Alright, so now I can just use my needle nose pliers here. Not pliers, tweezers. Kind of just start pulling off the rest of this goop. This whole thing is hot, honestly. This whole unit here. Actually, let's go all the way. There's a little grub screw right here so I can release this and completely separate the part. I don't like doing part names. Ooh. Okay, where is my tool set? Alright, I'm gonna take off this little grub screw. Isolate the problem. Oh man, the problem with these cheap Allen wrenches and these cheap screws is they can strip pretty easily. And then we have ourselves another problem. There we go. I find that this shorter end of the Allen key, whoops, for some reason, I don't know, the shorter end here seems to strip screws less often than the longer side. Is there science behind that, or is it just a superstition? Anyways, there we go. Heat block released. There we can see that even though Soval calls it an all-metal extruder, they ignore the fact that there's a little piece of PTFE between the extruder and the hot end. Kind of a bummer, but I guess it's there for a reason. Alrighty. What do you know? Didn't even really use the heat gun. I mean, I started to, but all we had to do in the end was let it get nice and hot on its own. Probably wouldn't be a terrible idea to swap all these parts out, but I don't think it's necessary by any means. Sorry, my camera's having trouble at this close distance. Oh yeah, we got everything all slimed up. Now there's these holes in the heat block here that are made for screwing into the... Oh gosh, I really need to learn my names for the printer after all these years. There's the heat block or whatever. No, there's a... You know. The thing with the thing. Thing with the thing needs things. Oh, that just goes all the way through. Okay. DJ, this is the Soval SV01 Pro, which, you know, oh, I almost stuck my tweezers in there, but we don't want to do this because this is still heating at this point. So you really got to be careful not to cause a short by sticking your tweezers between the heating cables. So let me go around that a little bit more and then I'll turn the printer off and unplug it to make sure I don't kill the printer / myself. Although it would make for good content. Alrighty. And you know, there we've got the grub screw for the heater. That's going to be hard to get to in the future because now it's filled with plastic. And we can't really get it all out. I could, you know what? While it's hot, let's just squish this in here to make room for the Allen key when one day we need to use it. Well, it's not hot. Whew. It also helps to play guitar and climb, have calluses on your fingers so you can handle this hot material. Yeah, it is the perfect color for an OoZe print. I gotta say, I woke up, I saw it, I was like, this is kind of aesthetic. This would make for a nice live stream. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, just kind of trying to get this goo off. We did the exciting stuff. Oop, got goo on the barrel there. Goo everywhere. You don't want that. You want things to stay clean. I'll probably replace this PTFE tube as well. Looks like there's some stuff going on in there. Should we take it all apart? I said we're doing maintenance, but at a certain point it becomes annoying to, you know, it becomes tedious work. That's not the most exciting thing to live stream. But let me know how much y'all want to see here. If this is informative at all. I don't know about this part right here. What caused the blob? Well, basically I just had a overnight print going. And although I watched the first hour or so and it looked alright, I guess it's failed. Most likely the bed adhesion failed, or there was some curled overhang, some part came off the build plate, something or another. And from there it can just lead to a chain reaction of prints running into each other, and eventually the whole thing just becomes a blob that follows the print head as it moves around and just keeps extruding and building up throughout the night. So that blob we started with was basically 8 hours worth of extrusion that we were dealing with. I do have pliers here, but what is that for? To hold this or to clean it? I don't know. This is working for me. Let's change the angle so you can see my pretty snotty face. For some reason I'm a bit congested. I mean, I'm always congested. Allergy life. I could dissolve the rest of the PLA. What would you use to dissolve the PLA? Actually, I don't know. I'm curious. I do have a metal brush that I would normally use to finish cleaning this up, but it's pretty much done for, having done this a few times. But I'm sure I can dig another one up, and that will be the last step. Look at this thing. This is how you know I've been printing for a while. This is the last of my 5-pack. I'll use an old shirt to smear it all off. That's not a bad idea. Ugh. This is a nice angle. Sandpaper. I mean, I don't know. I like using just the flat side of this plier. I guess it's maybe not the quickest, but I feel like I'm able to do it with intent, very carefully. But yeah, a metal brush is what I'm going to end up doing at the very end of this. And of course I'll do that once I've unplugged to the printer. A metal brush is another great way to cause a short. Yeah, we're pretty much set around here. Almost done with the tweezer phase of this operation. Use a hammer. You know, thanks for the suggestion. I'm gonna have to pass on that one. Yeah, you know, the old shirt idea isn't terrible. I've got rubbing alcohol. Will that even work? Just like some alcohol on a shirt. I don't know. Yeah, let's take out this PTFE tube. I'm gonna have to replace it, or I want to, rather. Because I can see there's some gumming around it as well. Now I got my pliers. So we can yoink this out. Ah! I never got one of those tools specifically for holding the heat block, which would always be nice. It's such an awkward shape to hold with a tool. Oh, and these pliers are also miserable. Good thing I have an infinite supply of different tools. Different tweezers, different tweezers. Oop, that was a little risky. Almost clamped the wires. Alright, you know what? I'm actually gonna turn off the heater at this point. I don't think it's necessary anymore to be supplying heat to this block. Ah, this tube does not want to come out. I guess I could take off the whole nozzle. Oh yeah, I gotta take it all apart. I'm running out of space to set things down here. Alright, let's see. That's not the right size. There we go. Alright, I guess I gotta heat it up again a little bit. 170 degrees. Why is this so tight? Could be all the... And it's... Oh, it does fit. There we go. Hot. Now I can cool it down again. And I'm actually, yeah. I need to stop a little bit more often, have a chat, and drink some coffee. Let's see if I got another brush I can use here. There we go. I don't think it's brass. It looks like steel, so it might cause a bit of damage. But it shouldn't be too bad. I think the heat block can handle a bit of like material. I just need something to set this against. And this kind of works, but yeah, I really need good clampy things to grab this. This should do. There we go. Now let's heat it up again to 150. 150 just to get a little bit of softening. Again, avoiding the heat blocks for now. I'll do those at the very last moment. Oh yeah, that's doing the trick. Very nice. This is gonna be as good as new. No, probably not. It could be if I had that kind of patience. Pretty darn good. Pretty darn good. Alright, now I am gonna unplug the printer to do the final little bit around the heat block. Hopefully I can get this done real quickly, just using the latent heat. Otherwise I have to use my heat gun again. But I've got a few seconds while this is all still soft that I can pull away the remaining bits of ooze. And you know, it doesn't have to be perfect. Over the next few prints it'll melt itself off. Maybe ruin a few other prints, but you know. Gosh, you know, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to take this apart entirely, you know. The right thing to do would be to actually pull out the heater, pull out the thermistor. But I'm, you know, as much as I'm trying to get this in great condition again, sometimes good enough is good enough. That's how it got its name. Plus, these thermistors can be pretty sensitive, so there's always a risk of destroying it while you're taking it apart. Oh. Alright. Looks pretty good. I think that'll print. Although, yeah, I'm going to finish taking off the PTFE tube here. And cleaning up the fans. The rest of the maintenance is probably just lubing up the different rods and bearings. Nothing too crazy. I don't know. What do you guys do to maintenance your printers, if anything? Or are you all like me and you kind of just say, we'll wait for a problem before we deal with it? You know, I try to be a bit of a role model, but there are some cases where I'm human. I'm not the best owner of 3D printers. And to be honest, there's a bit of a dilemma when you're receiving a bunch of printers for review, even though I kind of stopped for a really long time. I've been using these Sovol printers for multiple years, I think. At least 2 or 3 years, but for YouTubers who are always receiving new printers, they definitely will become a little more, willing to let things fall apart. Because they're like, oh, I'll get a new printer. I'll get the latest thing in another year. Speaking of which, I still haven't tried the Bamboo Lab printer. I still haven't tried any Prusa printers. So if you're keeping up with the Make Anything lore, I am moving studios soon, so I'm not getting any new stuff for the time being. But once I'm in my new space, I hope to upgrade it, get all the fancy stuff. Yeah, it's always a good idea to have plenty of spare parts available, Noah. I'm with you on that. You want to have a good number of nozzles to fly through. Maybe a spare heating block, thermistor, heater, some PTFE tube. I mean, a lot of that stuff comes with most 3D printers, which is nice of them. All right, let's dump all this goo. Where were we? All right, this thing is still hot, but not too hot, so I should be able to push the PTFE tube out now. I'm gonna try to push it through from the other side. There it goes. Now what I need here is like a pipe cleaner. A little tiny pipe cleaner would have been ideal to clean the inside of this barrel. Because as we can see, this PTFE tube is nasty. Look at that. That is definitely burnt. That definitely went above the temperature that a PTFE tube should go. But what can I say? Sometimes we want to print CPE, sometimes we want to print PETG, and that's when you get burnt tubes and toxic gases. Eek. All right. One sec here. Yeah, I've got kind of a mess to go through. It's not easy to navigate the studio at this moment. Shout out to my camera. Got a GH6. Some new stuff going on. Big battery on top. SSD recording is the new thing. I don't know. For the camera nerds out there. For those of you just joining, this is what we were dealing with. This massive blob of plastic stuck on the end of my... Oh, wow, that is a weapon. That is... I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna keep this under my bed at night. Alright. Here's my lovely organization, all the spare parts. Speaking of spare parts, I've got a box of nozzles and needles, hot ends, cables, tubes, and that's what we need. Cables and tubes amongst my skateboards. What a mess. All right. So check this out. My PTFE tube. I think I've got a good system here, so I'm gonna show it off. So, plenty of spare PTFE tubes, of course. The regular stuff, the Capricorn stuff. Although I don't know if the Capricorn is actually better for inside of a barrel like this or whatnot. You know? I don't know what's the best for that. Anyways, I'm just going to use a regular old tube. But what I think is pretty nice is this little tiny 3D print. This is just a little tool to help you flush cut the PTFE tube. And that's pretty handy, because if it's not perfectly perpendicular, you end up getting clogs and making the problem worse than the crappy tube you just replaced. So I've got that, and then I've got this straight blade, which lets me just guillotine down on the PTFE tube. And if you're holding it all down into place while you make that cut, you get a really nice straight cut. Capricorn can handle higher temps. So I've heard. Actually, I heard it was about the tolerances. Is it about the temps or the tolerances? Or is it both? Let's see how it fits in there. Okay, this is where it gets tough to do things with one hand. Anyways, I do have the original tube here, so I can use that as a reference for the length. Usually I'll go a little bit longer because it can get compressed and that shouldn't mess things up. I don't know, like a fraction of a millimeter I'm talking. Yeah, let's set up my setup so I can show you how it's done. Is it just marketing? You know, maybe, because maybe it was like 2 or 3 years ago that Capricorns were all the rage. Everyone was talking about how they're like one of the most beneficial upgrades. I guess Bowden printers were also way more popular. I'm stoked that I think I had some part in direct drive making a real comeback, because I at some point said I'm going to stop reviewing Bowden printers. I just want direct drive. They're so much easier for me to deal with. All right, let's flip that over. And the first thing I'm going to do is kind of just use my fingers to straighten this out as much as I can. Get the kinks out. Pretty good, pretty good. We can use this for reference if we want to be super fancy. All right. This end already looks totally flush to me. So I'm going to put this through here. Put this next to it for reference. Line it up. And like I said, if anything, I'll go like a slight part of a millimeter further. Now, I didn't design this part. If I did, I probably would have made it a little bit bigger. Maybe even taped it down. But it was a quick print, which is nice. There we go. So now I'm just going to take this, and I'm going to hold the tube and that part. I'm kind of holding it all together. And then, boom, straight down. We've got ourselves a nice perpendicular cut. And look at that. I think that's perfect. Perfect. Yeah. Unfortunately, the inside of here is kind of dirty. I don't really have the tools to clean it. Like, would a Q-tip and alcohol do anything, or is it more of a metal brush situation? What do I want to do here? I don't have any pipe cleaners. I could kind of just use a screw and kind of scrape the inside, which seems awful, but at the same time, why not? There's going to be a tube in there anyways. It's not like it's interfering. It's not, you know, the outside of this barrel isn't interacting directly with the print. It's kind of just holding the tube. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to use a screw as a pipe cleaner. Oh, I absolutely would use a metal brush if I had one that could get in there. Drill bit, that's also a good idea. You know, it ain't perfect. It ain't super beautiful. But I've printed with worse, that's for sure. That is for certain. I gotta say, this stainless steel brush actually works really well. Not too pretty around there, but yeah, I just don't want to mess with it too much. If it works, it works, and if it breaks, then we'll put in a new one. But for now, ooh, that's a tight fit. I think once we heat it up, it'll push a little bit further. Oh yeah, it's got a little ways more it can go. And that looks like the PTFE tube goes straight against the nozzle. Not the best system, but it is a budget printer, so I guess that makes sense. All right. So, some final maintenance. I'm going to use one of my favorite tools that I've recently gotten, which is an electric vacuum / duster. These things, oh man, I use this in so many areas of my life, you wouldn't even believe it. I clean everything with this thing now. It's a little portable vacuum. Not the cheapest, it's like 80 bucks. Vacuums are weirdly expensive. I guess they need good motors. But I bought several of these and they're all still working. I just wanted to have a bunch because they're so handy in the car, dealing with printers, dusting prints, and all that. If you go to the makeanything.design website and check out my favorites section, I have a little blurb dedicated to this vacuum. So go check it out if you want one for yourself. Highly suggested. Also, a great gift. Anyways, that's enough infomercial from me. But yeah, if I switch to duster mode, it's a great way to deal with something like this super dusty old fan. Especially good for hard to reach places. This fan actually, even better would be to use like a microfiber cloth. Ooh, and my camera over there. Oh, I also have this old brush. Whoops. This old brush from cleaning my camera lens. Also works really well for that. And I just got a notification that my phone battery is about to die. That's how you know I'm not used to streaming. I didn't even consider that very obvious thing, that my phone's not gonna last very long streaming. But anyways, I think I've shown you most of what I need to show you. We dealt with that blob. What was the lesson? Let the heater heat itself up. Give it a good 20 minutes if it's a terrible blob like mine was. And eventually the heat will seep through, and if you're lucky, it'll free itself. We cut some new PTFE tube. I think that went well. I'll have to update you if my cutting job didn't work for some reason. The fans. Oh, yeah. one last little bit of advice that I think is very useful. You don't want to overload the fans. Like if you were to take this duster and blow the fan, it'll get the fan spinning on its own, and that'll actually send electricity backwards because of electronics and physics, and it can damage the printer. So whenever you're cleaning off a fan, what I'll do is just stick a tweezer in there with one hand while I'm blowing with the other hand so that the fan itself is not turning. That's about it. That's my last bit of advice. Clean the fans way more often than I do, but don't let them spin while you're dusting them. A. B. B. Represented by a 2. Yeah, get those PTFE cutting tubes. Those are super nice. 3. The OoZe deal. You watched me deal with the OoZe. Alright. Yeah, my phone's about to die, so I'm going to cut it off there. Thanks for joining me. Maybe you'll learn something. If not, hopefully you had fun hanging out with me for an hour or so. You helped occupy my time and made this chore a little bit more exciting for me. Yeah, this was pretty fun. I'll try to do more vertical live streams in the coming months. See if I can share my knowledge with the kids. Alright, later.